Bengals win this game 37-27. Top 5 graded Cincinnati Bengal players in this game. Geno Stone at the very top of the list. Struggled. It's been a tough year for Geno Stone, but good to see him on the top of the list. 92.8 overall grade. Defensive tackle McKinley Jackson, an 87.5. Defensive tackle B.J. Hill, an 81.6. Cornerback Mike Hilton, an 81.6 as well. And then edge rusher Myles Murphy, a 79.0. Quarterback Joe Burrow in this one, a 69.7 overall grade. On the other side of things for Tennessee, defensive tackle T'Vondre Sweat, a 92.1. Coming up with some big plays this season. Linebacker Luke Gifford stepping up big, 91.3. Safety Darrell Worley with an 85.6. Defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons, an 80.7. And the tight end Chika Okonkwo with a 77.2. Will Levis in this game, 33.0 PFF grade before getting benched. Just have to tell the story.
Okay, so in a game that was incredibly ugly, that featured 10 turnovers.
Holy smokes.
What was the number you told me? 25 penalties between them? Somewhere in there?
The Bengals had 14 penalties, and the Titans had 12.
Silly. 10 turnovers and 26 penalties. But Bengals Titans in the year 2024, that's probably about right, honestly. Either way.
Titans had almost every type of penalty that you could have. It was very the Bengals was funny. I mean, I'll just say this is my most disappointing, which is it was a terrible disciplined game. The Bengals had 14 penalties. 6 of them were false starts. 2 of them were delay of games. So 8 of the 14 were pre-snap. You needed, figure your shit out type of penalties that they need to get. For the Titans, it was 2, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1. It was just they were failing across the board. It wasn't one unit that was really poorly disciplined. It was a multitude of different penalties. And I think there were only 5 penalty categories where they didn't have one. The rest, it was just very well spread out as terrible.
It's funny you mentioned that with the Titans, because I remember, I think it was last week, you had asked me behind the scenes, you were like, what is it with the Titans? Why are they this bad? And I just told you, I was like, just kind of across the board, not good.
Yeah, no, they're just not good.
It's that's kind of the phrase where it's it's across. But
I've seen Titans fans talk about moving on from Brian Callahan. I do not think that's going to happen.
What is he supposed to do with
this
team?
Right. I think Titans fans are just really mad that, understandably, that they had Mike Vrabel, who is a good coach, and they've sort of rolled the dice and now are very bad. And I think they're just understandably pretty mad about it.
Yeah.
But Brian Callahan's not going to get fired.
No, and he shouldn't. I don't know how he's supposed to win with this team as young as it is, and they got some injuries.
Well, it's less of the wins and it's more of what we saw. 12 penalties. Basically a penalty in all these categories.
Sure.
It's very undisciplined football. But I'm with you, man.
The difference in this game was at least the Bengals have a quarterback that can manage his way through all the crap that you talked about, right? And even 2 interceptions of his own. Joe Burrow under 20 yards, okay? Deep ball was kind of a struggle, except the one ball to Higgins under pressure. That was a great ball. But under 20 yards, 25 of 31, 233, 80 passing grade. Without the interception on the first drive of the game, if I take that one throw out, be a 90. So he was still within the parameters of the offense and kind of just working the ball down the field. Pretty darn surgical. It's just the deep ball was a bit of a struggle. And at the very least, you have a contrast between the 2 quarterbacks of when Will Levis doesn't have the deep ball, he has nothing. When Joe Burrow doesn't have the deep ball, he can still work his way through it as he's always done. So I think Burrow working through adversity has kind of been one of the trademarks of his whole career, whether it be the pass protection or injuries of his own or at receiver or just even difficult situations like this where people around him aren't playing well. He finds a way, right? He finds a way to win games like this, and I think there's something to be said for that. And if I flip over to the most disappointing, Will Levis is just not a guy that finds a way to do that. And I think at this point, I told you with the play calling last week and the lack of trust, but you knew this was going to be, at least on one side, the Bengals were going to put up points in this game. Joe Burrow's playing against the Tennessee Titans. Points are going to get put up. He had to try to trust, Brian Callahan had to try to trust Will Levis to make throws. Instead, it was 4 turnovers in 2.5 quarters. Somebody else is going to play quarterback for the Titans next year.
Yep.
I don't think they'll be in position for the draft unless something wild happens with the Giants and the Raiders. Maybe they're the first team on the list trying to go sign Sam Darnold or somebody like that, but somebody else will be playing quarterback for the Titans next year. It's not going to be Will Levis.
Yeah, you look at I won't 100% say that's the case, but we're certainly getting very, very close to it because you're hoping that some other option is going to be out there.
You just can't. The turnovers, you can't.
The 2 turnovers are bad.
You
now,
can't walk in week 1 with
Hold on. The first turnover for him, there was something wrong with what Nick Westbrook-Ikhine was doing and what he thought he was going to do. Because it looked like Nick Westbrook-Ikhine was sort of running a whip route, and then he just stopped running. And so when Levis throws the football, you can kind of see in his face, you're like, he's like, how did that just happen? Why didn't you keep running? Because if Nick Westbrook-Ikhine keeps running the whip route, that's actually a good pass. Like, it's actually a good ball. But Westbrook-Ikhine, for whatever reason, on the turn of what was the whip, just stood there as if it was just sort of like a comeback route or like a curl route. And so that was a little bit of a miscommunication there. The second one's bad. The second one, he throws post middle of the field against closed coverage with a single high safety who is just sitting there.
Yep.
I mean, the safety is staring at him the entire time. You're running what's sort of like a Yankee concept where it's just a deep crosser, a deep post over the middle, and then just a vertical route. But against cover 3, unless one of the wide receivers unless the wide receiver who was running the vertical route ran it incorrectly and was supposed to take the safety, was supposed to actually make it more of a true Yankee concept of a post and then a deep crosser coming underneath, that route was never going to be open. That was never going to be the throw that you needed it to be. So it's hard to know exactly what was going on there, but from how it plays out on tape, it is Will Levis throwing a post route against closed coverage in the middle of the field, never being open.
It's predetermining throws like we saw with Jameis before, where it's just like, yeah, I can get it there. I have a top 5 arm strength in football. I can just get it wherever I want. And it's just too many times. You just can't have it. You just can't have throws where you go, yeah, I can get it there. Watch me. Because it very often ends up like that, especially for Levis. You can't predetermine throws like that.
So horrendous football was actually the stat that told the story. That's literally just what I have. It's just horrendous football. 10 turnovers in total, a billion penalties. So it was a really bad football game, but the Bengals won. So kudos to them. Most impressive for me, T. Higgins. Mainly just because I was super impressed with the contested catches. 2 out of 3 contested catches in this one. I mean, he got blasted on the one that he caught the touchdown. He got hit pretty hard on the catch earlier before that as well. So just a day where T sort of reminded everybody, like, hey, like, there's a reason why everybody talks about me as the wide receiver to go get in free agency. It's because this guy's got the frame, the speed, the hands, and the contested catch ability to be a stud wide receiver. And he is for the Bengals, but he can be potentially a wide receiver 1 elsewhere in the NFL. So this was sort of a reminder of a T. Higgins game about how good he was, in my opinion, and what he could bring to the table as a contested catch stud. So that's my most impressive.
Absolutely. Here. Mine has to be the biggest man on the field, T'Vondre Sweat.
He's had some just like funny, great plays.
He's just really good. There's a reason he was one of the best defensive tackles in college football last year. I remember watching him at the Combine run through the drills on the field at the Combine and going, that's not a normal 366-pound person the way he's moving. It's crazy how athletic he is even at that size. But you look at 92.2 overall grade in this game, 4 pressures. The strip, the whole sequence, first of all, that's one of the best plays I think we've seen all season, right? Burrow's already being sacked. He's just barely not down by contact yet. Walks up, strips the football, just takes it out of Joe Burrow's hands, sheds one tackler. Stiff arm of the year. I don't care. I
mean, it's pretty violent.
I don't care. Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley. I don't care. Anyway, stiff arm of the year is T'Vondre Sweat. Sorry, Alex Kappa. And then he just keeps rumbling down the sideline for another 30 yards. That's one of the best plays we've seen all season. And Sweat, I mean, he's just really good. He is a serious problem. Like, we're going to walk into next year with him and Jeffrey Simmons going, okay, still, when you play the Titans, good luck getting between the tackles and good luck protecting on the interior because Simmons, we know, is a freak. He's been a freak for a long time. And you got this guy at 360, 370, who apparently could play running back. Actually, I should point out that last year in the Big 12 title game, he caught a touchdown. So he can do things like this. I mean, he's a freak of an athlete at that size. He's a really good football player, and I'll tell you what, they made a hell of a second-round pick taking him.
Yep. He's been great. Like I said, it feels like he has had a
Also,
handful of the most impressive
love that
defensive
picture.
plays.
Whoever behind the glass had that picture of Sweat with the ball in his hands during that top 5, great stuff. Just a great find.
Needed it. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.